let's go ahead and cover the basics whenever buying property subject to. First off, what exactly does it mean to buy property subject to? Oftentimes people make it seem a lot more confusing and tougher than it really has to be, because it is a very simple concept. When someone owns a property, a seller, and has a mortgage on it, if you were going to buy their property subject to, at closing, the title to the property would change hands just like any other closing. The only difference there is the underlying loan on the property, instead of getting paid off at closing, it remains in place. So the seller's loan remains in place on the property, and you as the buyer, the investor, simply take over payment on that loan. So if the loan was current, then the seller made the last payment, and after closing, you contact the mortgage company, get all the appropriate information, and you start making the payment directly to them. Ultimately, that's all buying property subject to really means. So let's cover one thing here, the due on sale clause. And real quick, when you're talking with any traditional real estate professionals, whether it's an agent or a mortgage broker or traditional attorneys, then oftentimes if you explain this concept, it will probably seem foreign to them. They may tell you that you can't do that, that it's illegal, or any other number of things. But one of the typical objections from someone like that is the due on sale clause, which is now prevalent in mortgages today, in deeds of trust. What that means is that 30 years and prior, before now, there never used to be a due on sale clause. But the banks, the lenders out there, got a little wised up, got a little smart, and said, hey, when loans were assumable, a seller would go to sell their property. The buyer, instead of going out and getting a new loan, would just take over payments on the underlying loan, assume the loan, and done deal. Well, the banks came up with the due on sale clause that states when a property changes ownership, then they have the right to call the loan due and payable in full. So what this did is it promoted any buyers. It quote unquote forced them to go out and acquire new financing so that the banks could make all of their loan origination fees and all their front-loaded interest so that they could just ultimately make more money. So the banks came up with the due on sale clause just as a strategy for them to add to their bottom line. But this clause, all that it states is that if the ownership of a property transfers, then they can call the loan due and payable in full. They have that right. So we're going to go through some tips on buying property subject to, and I'm going to tell you some different ways that you can do things so that if you choose to use this method of acquiring property, you limit your risk in buying property subject to literally to about zero. Paperwork. We're going to hit on a couple things here really quickly. The purchase and sale contract. The contract that we use is very different from the contract, say, any kind of real estate agent would use. So you're not going to use the typical realtor contract when doing deals, when doing any creative deals. But our purchase and sale contract, in the purchase price section, we have several different ways that we can structure the deal. One is an all-cash offer. Another way, it has a blank for seller financing, so that, which we're going to go over here in a little while today, where you can enter that in. It also has two different blanks for if there's a first and second mortgage that we're taking over the property subject to, so that we can enter in our purchase price information there. So if you don't have paperwork right now and are looking for it, there's a lot of different resources online that you can find some good stuff and not pay a whole lot for. Email me if you have any questions, patrick@mustknowinvesting.com. I'll tell you that we use Lewis Brown's paperwork. He's been in the business for a long time out of Atlanta. Best paperwork I've seen, but you do have to pay for it. It is expensive. If you're going to be in this game for the long haul for a while and have already gotten started buying houses, you may want to check out his resources because they're excellent. The other form here that you'll want to make sure that you have is the authorization to release information form. When buying property subject to, this is vital because what this form is going to do is it's going to allow you to talk to the lender on the property. So if there's an underlying mortgage, you get the homeowner to sign the authorization to release information form. You send that into the bank. Once it's in their system, you call them up and you're able to find out everything you want to know about the loan that's in place. You find out to make sure that the payments on the loan are current. If not, how far behind are they? What the balance is on the mortgage. If there's a prepayment penalty. If there is a balloon in the underlying mortgage, which you definitely want to know. What's the interest rate? Monthly payment, if that includes escrow. All these things that you want to find out about the loan, because when buying property subject to, when you buy a property and take over payments, you want to make sure that it is a good loan that you're taking over payments on. If it's an adjustable rate, you want to know that, and you want to know how it's going to adjust in the future, just to safeguard yourself. So that's a few basics on buying property subject to. On to more.